let us continue on to our next speaker. And I know you're going to enjoy her and what she's going to talk about. So Denise Murtha Bachmann is the founder of Success with AI, with Sellovatorz. And I'm going to butcher this, Denise. You're going to, it's either HumAIn with an AI in the middle, or it's HumAIn AI and Sells brands. I'm just going to let you say it. So
human AI sells.
Human AI, thank you so much. So Denise brings 30 successful years in sales, and the latter half has been in the AI automation, and she's passionate about aligning sales, AI and humanity, and to help sales forces adapt and adopt the efficiencies and making that human connection. So you're not here to sell us Big Brother today, right? You're here to talk about connections. So I'm going to throw it over to you, Denise, so you can take on there.
Awesome. Thank you. And by the way, you'll notice behind me all of my electronic portable chargers, because I am here in Houston where we had the hurricane hit. So I was prepared. But that being said, thanks, Stan, for the introduction. I'm super excited to be here to lead this discussion around really aligning sales, AI, and humanity. Because when we think about, well, let's take a step back. We're all here for a reason, right? The problem we're trying to solve is we are either learning how to help others, or we are here to help ourselves. I mean, this is the Vibrant Living Summit, where it is all about wellness. And really the underlying theme is what are the secrets to success, right? And I truly believe that in order for us to see success, we need to do the inner work. We may define success differently. Some of us, it may be personal. Some of us, it may be professional. Maybe it's a combination of the two. Heck, maybe it's even just financial or something even totally different from that. But the result is that we all have a different definition for success. But in order for us to be successful, we have to do the inner work. And, you know, the segue or the conversation topic that we just heard with Peter was a great segue into this topic. And why I think this is super important, and I'll get back to sales, AI, and humanity in a second, but why I think this is important is because if I take myself, if I look over, I turned 52 in November, right? So I've been around for a little bit of time. And for a lot of those years, I had really great moments of amazing success. I mean, I made tons of cash, built a house, you know, have a pool, did all these great family, had amazing opportunities and experiences. And then something would happen and I would take a nosedive. And then for a moment or period of time, I would be in this really depressive, wallowy-ish space. And then all of a sudden something would happen and life would be grand again, right? I'd have these moments. They could have been days, weeks, years even, but I have these moments of greatness and then these moments of sadness. And what I realized was those moments of sadness were fueled because I did not do the inner work. I had some childhood trauma that I needed to manage to. Now, we all don't have childhood trauma. It's okay, right? But we have all had some sort of trauma that has created these ways that we react, ways we engage. They have all led us to who we are and why we do some of the things we do. And what I realized was I needed to really focus on this journey of healing. And now that I've been on this journey of healing, what I've realized is I now have the tools with which to manage or navigate these micro moments. And these micro moments have enabled me to create this, or allow me to foster this sustainable success. Look, and so how does this all relate back to sales, AI, and humanity? We're all in sales. Regardless of what we do, we may not be sales by profession. We may not be an entrepreneur. We may be simply out there working a non-sales related job, but every single day we are selling, whether it's our project, our ideas, our thoughts, our accomplishments, or even if you think about in our personal relationships, when we go home and we're trying to figure out what we're going to do for dinner, having the conversation with our kids or our partners, right? We're trying to negotiate either what we want or a compromise of what they want, or maybe it's they get what they want today and I get what I want tomorrow, right? We are constantly selling in every facet. And I actually even teach, 20 to 30% of the sales process, you need to adopt and adapt to AI technologies. You need to leverage those for efficiencies, but still retain the human element. But the other, 70 to 80% of the time is spent on the human connection, the human aspect of sales. How do we retain and foster that human connection that the buyers of today really demand, actually? If you think about, for example, when you say, hello, how are you? And someone responds back, oh, I'm great. And then you say, okay, and we move on to the next conversation topic. Wouldn't it be great, however, if that person said, great, okay, great, tell me why that today is so great? Oh, I love that. Now tell me a little bit more about that, right? So dive in, right? We are taught as a society to just ask a question and then move on. But what if we take the constructs of sales, of what we've learned in sales, and apply it to our everyday life? This is why it is so important for us to talk about sales, and how, because what we learn in sales, we can leverage in our personal lives and vice versa. And the very first thing I talk about is how to be curious, how to actively listen, and how to be audible ready. So what does that all mean? Being curious means asking questions. What that does is, first off, it gets you to have a conversation with someone that they wouldn't normally have had, because, oh, we've been taught to say, oh, great, I'm glad you're great, and move on, right? Instead, you're going to ask them a little bit more about why they're so great, what's going on, what's caused this day to be great, right? You're going to be curious enough, they're going to realize that you care about them, but you're also going to be able to uncover information that you might not have been able to uncover before. You might learn something new about them. You might uncover that maybe they really weren't that great, and they're now willing to share with you a little bit more information because now they know you care enough because you've been asking all these questions. And you might be able to find ways to help them, right? You never really know, but you're also going to actively listen. So when they give you a response, you're listening to that response, not thinking of the next question ahead of you, but you're listening to that response so that you can ask the next follow-on question and the next. You continuously ask until you have no more questions left to ask. The goal is to really not just establish a relationship, but in a relationship based on trust and credibility, and that you truly know the problem that you are looking to solve to them. In order to do that effectively, we have to be in the right mind space. Think about this. Oh, I don't know why I have fireworks going. That was not planned. Think about this, though. I have a neighbor. I will text her every now and then, and I'll say, hey, how's it going? Fine, is her response. And then, I don't get anything back. So I'm like, okay, well, what are you doing? I'm doing this. Okay. Well, what are you doing? What are you doing later? And I get a response, but never once does she ask me what I'm doing, how I'm doing, what am I doing later, right? It's because it's a one-sided conversation. She doesn't know how to be curious because, and it could be a multitude of reasons, right? But ultimately, what it boils down to is she isn't in the right mind space to be curious. She probably hasn't done that inner work for maybe not all of her life, but at least maybe the inner work for that day. She's not in the place where she has the capacity to ask those questions. Maybe she's too busy. Maybe she is frustrated with her husband. Maybe her kid is riding around like a crazy kid, right? And she's got to manage to that. Maybe it's just that she's unhappy or sad or angry, and she just wants to at least be cordial and respond, but she just doesn't have the wherewithal to have a conversation. That is because she's not in the right headspace, as I mentioned. And only then, when she's in the right headspace, can she actually engage in a curiously, actively listening, being audible, ready conversation. So I'm a firm believer that it's really good to have all this amazing conversation, right? But then what do we do with that? When we foster these conversations, when we actively engage with them, we give the opportunity to not just foster a friendship, but a deep, intimate friendship that allows us, especially in sales, to solve problems together, to get them to a closed deal where they're transacting with you based on a win-win scenario, because you're in it with them, in the trenches. You understand what they're trying to do. You understand the problems that they want to solve, and they understand from you how you are going to support them, how you are going to help them. Same theories that you take in your personal relationships as well. People want to know that they have a connection. Look, the pandemic changed everything. We used to be on the road, always meeting people, whether you were physically going from office to office room or out traveling to your clients. You were constantly on the go. And then we became sequestered and we had to stay at home. We were isolated and we had to develop relationships differently. This is the result of that. Everything's now digital. AI is wonderful. It helps us create efficiencies, but it all goes back to that human connection and the importance of that human connection. So I'm a firm believer that when we talk about, how to solve to a problem, right? So the problem is we want to be better versions of ourselves. The way we do that is we have to do the inner work. Part of that inner work is within our relationships, is being in a place that we can be curious, actively listen, and that we can also be audible ready so that we can continuously build on this relationship. So I'm going to give you a practical tip. We're all here to get better anyway, so you're already on the right path, but let's take some time to practice. The next conversation that you have, when you ask someone how they're doing, don't just make it a, hey, here's what I'm going to do and I'm going to move on to the next. Ask them why they are great, or ask them why they're only good, or ask them why they say that it sucks right now. Whatever that might be, ask them, and then ask the next question and truly try to understand what is behind the initial response that they gave you, because I can 100% tell you that what they gave you initially is not going to be the result or the outcome that you get when you ask those underlying questions. So I hope that I have taken up my time and not gone too short, nor that I've gone over. I hope that you've learned a lot from this session. More importantly, reach out if you have any questions. I'm here to answer them. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys, and I'm just honored to be here amongst some great people. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Denise. We do have one question to address quickly, and I think I'm going to refer this to probably take this offline, but Khalil says, love the conversation and building relationship to fulfill needs and exchange value or solve a problem. How does one close? And I will tell you right now, we do not have enough time to teach you how to close this sale. So Khalil, I'm going to encourage you to reach out to Denise on that one. And I really resonated, Denise, with the audible part. I used to have a boss that said, you talk to somebody and they may have been, you may get more information. They've been vaccinated with the phonograph needle. So now I've also dated myself again. I do know what records are, right? But we're all in sales. And guys, if you don't believe that, just look at the sales job you did to marry up to your wife. And that's all I'll say about that. So
or is that really what you're saying about yourself, Dan?
I freely admit it. It takes a special woman to put up with me, and we're on 38 years. So I may look young, but I've got loads of experience. So anyway, all right. Thank you so much again, Denise.